think a lot of misconceptions I hear around mediumship is just seeing dead people everywhere, and it's scary, and there's a lot of darkness, like we're picking up on a lot of dark energies, negative energies. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Intuition Unlocked. Are you ready for spooky season? Halloween is tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, and it got me thinking that talking about mediumship gifts, spirits, ghosts, connecting to the spirit world may be a really fun topic for this day and time. So, have you ever wondered if you have the ability to connect with the spirit world? Well, in today's episode, we're going to dive into mediumship, what it truly means, how you might be tapping into this gift without even realizing it, and the fascinating way that spirits try to reach out to us. Let's explore this truth behind mediumship, stripping away the fear and debunking the myths. Because I know for many of us, when we start talking about ghosts and spirits and connecting with the beyond, it starts to elicit some fear, some discontent, some unsurety, and let's not go there. But I'm here to bring some fun, some play, and say that this can be a really supportive gift and experience if you understand it, know what you're doing, and have the protection and support around you. So as always, if you're here, welcome. Take what you want, leave the rest. I'm guessing that there's something here for you if you were drawn to pressing play and you're interested in this. So let's dive into all things mediumship. I see mediumship as the ability to communicate with spirits from the spiritual realm. So often these are those who have passed away. It can manifest through various senses: hearing, seeing, feeling, simply knowing. These are all connected to our clair senses, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. And I want to break down mediumship versus psychic. And I think intuitive is also another word for psychic. And psychic refers to the ability to be able to receive information from people and places and living things here on earth. So everyone is going to be using your intuition as a doorway to our psychic and or mediumship abilities. That's how I see these three things connected. We are connected to our intuition, that voice, that inner knowing, and we utilize that sense as a broader doorway to connect to both things here in this realm and then the beyond outside, which I see is more as a medium. So you might have heard the saying that every medium is psychic, but not every psychic is a medium. And I definitely agree with that statement. A medium is very sensitive to the energy, and they're able to communicate with those who are in the spirit realm, who are in different dimensions, who are at different frequencies around us. So naturally, mediums are sensitive to energy and information on the physical plane, like the earth. I'd say it's blurry. There's a lot of blur here. So you have to somewhat figure out this for yourself of how you understand this realm. I think everyone sees it a little bit differently, but this is how I am going to make the differences. A psychic is I can connect. I can make sense of what I'm feeling in my surroundings, of different people. I can work with my guides. I can get insight. And then a medium is like another rung, like you've opened a door within a door that now I am going to connect to past loved ones, to past spirits, to even ghosts, to angels, to so much more. And I think a lot of psychics can do this, but not everyone, and or they don't want to do this or have an interest. And then there's some of us like myself who the gifts just open naturally and you start making sense on the other side of these things, parting out what is what. So I think a lot of misconceptions I hear around mediumship is you're just seeing dead people everywhere and it's scary. And mediums, there's a lot of darkness, like we're picking up on a lot of dark energies, negative energies, and or it's really just about like that fear state. And I do not believe in that. There is definitely a spectrum of beings that you're gonna, as a medium, connect to, but we really connect with spirits in subtle ways that aren't scary or dramatic. Oftentimes it's supportive of ourselves, of those spirits. We learn something, we help them, vice versa. There's a lot of different things and reasons behind why we connect or have experiences. And so that's something I think we need to keep in mind, is also that it's not necessarily taboo, at least in my realm. It might be culturally a little bit more, but I think there's a lot that we can understand that these things exist. There is so much more going on in and around us that if you start working with your sensitivities, and especially highly sensitive people, these experiences can begin to happen. You don't have to have them. We can set boundaries, we can set intentions of what we want to have. And yet those who are true mediums really sometimes don't have a choice. Things are just here and you're sensing them and they've come forward, and then you react. But you can learn to navigate even the scariest of situations that you might encounter as a medium in a way that actually is very empowering and supportive. So let's talk about how you know if you have these mediumship abilities. Some signs and clues that may indicate you have mediumship gifts are, firstly, seeing the presence of a loved one who has passed, or feeling their energy and or receiving subtle messages. So this could be like you hear their name a lot all of a sudden. You're seeing orbs in your photos that you're taking. You keep seeing a butterfly or a dragonfly or a crow constantly around you. And then when you go in, you're like, like it's a different feeling. It elicits all these things, these clues elicit something that's a little bit out of your norm than if you're just driving and you see these things or you've heard them. It's like when you hear or see them, something feels a little bit different. And that's a thread you can begin to pull to see what's there. Other things you might have are feeling energy shifts in places, such as a room all of a sudden feeling heavy or different, or cold or warm. Temperature can often change. Maybe all of a sudden you get a rush of emotions that you're like, whoa, where did this come from? Or you get goosebumps. Typically, if you're having that when you've walked into a room, or all of a sudden it happens pretty quickly. It's not like, oh, I've been sitting here and I've just been feeling this way this whole time. It's like you've noticed that shift or that sudden sense. Your body is reacting, your emotional body, your spiritual body, your physical body is reacting to something adjusting. And that's usually a sign that there's some type of spirit or being there that's around you, or like, hey, I'm here. I want to talk to you or be around you. And these ones often elicit, I'd say, fear when you have that. They don't always feel good because your body goes into protection mode. But once you start to recognize these subtle shifts and then have a practice of, okay, do I want to connect to this? How can I feel safe? Setting an intention, setting a boundary, pulling a guide forward, and then communicating with that spirit, if that makes sense. You can start to really become more empowered and feel curious about these interactions versus fearful. But even as someone who has done this for many years, there's always that first panic moment, I will state, of like, ooh, something else is in my energy and in this field. What is going on? And then I remember, okay, settle, go through my processes and go from there. But I usually see this happening like you've gone to somewhere new, you're out on the land somewhere, you're in a shop that has a lot of objects, and those are the places I usually see these energy shifts happening, but it can happen anytime. I would also say through dreams. Things can come through dreams, and or you can dream about something and then wake up or have an experience at night that feels really unsettling or like something has come forward. And again, though, you go through those same processes of empowering you, sending love, feeling protected, and then engaging at least to even remove the entity or to understand from there. Another clue could be that you're having regular clairvoyant experiences, such as seeing flashes of light or shadows out of the corner of your eye, or you are getting a sense of like something just keeps popping in, and or your drawer opens or shouldn't move, or a light turns on or is flickering that shouldn't be doing that. You're having these little physical signs that there's something going on in your sphere. Another one, like I said, is vivid dreams. So this could be where spirits or deceased loved ones appear with clear messages or just show up out of the blue, or you just have this knowing. My mom and my sister really have vivid dreams around spirits, both those that die or babies that are coming, and they'll just know, like, someone dies in their dream and they'll wake up and that person has died. It's really fascinating, the power of dreams. And we all have different experiences and abilities with dreams, but there's a lot there. That's its own topic in itself. But noticing those dreams and who and what is trying to communicate with you. And the last one I'll share here, and there are many more clues that I think could be indicative of mediumship, is this feeling of like a knocking, or like you are having emotions that aren't quite your own, or you're getting little clues in the physical that are kind of pushing you to remind you of somebody or something, and that are somewhat like knocking on your door. They're drawing you to want to connect and feel. And I think that when you're first going through mediumship, that you're very open. Typically, you haven't set boundaries because you don't even know this is something you can do. And so you might be having experiences where like thoughts of something comes into your mind while you're walking through somewhere new, or you're around somebody and someone, like a loved one from them, pops in and you're like, what is this? Am I just crazy? Who is this person? Why are they saying these things to me? It takes time. But the more you notice these signs and you begin to tune into them, the more that they will grow and you'll be able to understand them more clearly. And let's talk about spirit communication, because this is really the crux of what is going on and help you understand why we're communicating with spirits as a medium. So firstly, I want to talk about spirits versus ghosts. So ghosts I see as impressions in space and time that are stemming from human energy. It's like they're an image that is just kind of there. They've imprinted on this space and time, and they're kind of replaying how they died or where they died, and you can notice them, but they're not really interacting with you very much, or you see them or you sense them and then they're gone. Whereas spirits are the souls of humans or other sentient beings, could be animals, people who've passed, and even beyond this physical plane. So spirits can be a term that can catch a lot. I think it goes beyond the bound of humans, of animals, of the physical plane here in Earth. There's so much more you can connect with your mediumship gifts, such as alien races like the Pleiadians, Arcturians, Lyrians, or elementals, angels, archangels, goddesses. I mean, there's so much. If you go into the Akashic records, you can connect to so much information and energies. I think we can use spirit as a term that kind of encompasses all of that. Your guides. I mean, it is somewhat endless to me once you really open that door. And not everyone is going to interact with all of those things, but it is a doorway. When you become a medium, and if you're pretty curious and like, what else is here? And when you have those really set intentions around what experiences you want, for me, it's a lot of, I want to just understand. I want to be of service. I want to be in love and show up, and what can help me do that. And I'm also just open and curious about connecting with anything. And going back to ghosts are often tied to a physical place or an object. That's where I really see like clocks and watches or a jacket. Ghosts really will cling to those types of things. It's like they're embedded in that piece, and then you can interact with their spirit from there, or on a physical plane, like they died in this house, and so they're kind of just there. But I will say this again blurs a little bit. I think I can see this both ways, as also because spirits, I can see also, they're free to roam. That's how I see spirits. Like they don't have to choose. They can go wherever. They're in multiple places at once. They're multidimensional. And yet I have found spirits also be attached or say, I want to choose to be on this land as a guardian of the land. I'm going to choose to be in this mirror and to connect to this as a doorway. P.S. Mirrors are portals. Note them, clear them, set intentions around them. It's very important. I would not recommend having mirrors anywhere you're sleeping. Things can jump through, not to scare you, but there is a lot of potential there with mirrors. You need to learn how to use them and understand them a little bit more. And so just noticing that both ghosts and spirits are a little bit different, and yet it's really about energy. You are reaching as a medium toward this energy, this frequency, this being, and then they are pushing towards you, and that's how you can connect. So once you get the hang of it, the world becomes expansive, and there's so much to experience and connect to. And yet I will always come back to creating boundaries, intentions, practices to safely interact, to clear and remove spirits as a medium becomes key, because it's really easy to get inundated by a lot and or feeling like you don't have the power anymore. But with this, I will say you always have the power, but it's understanding and learning. And a lot of that comes through your emotional state. So why are spirits attracted to us, and especially us mediums? I really see this as spirits are roaming or attached, like I said, to different things, objects, places, and even people. And spirits are on their own plane of existence. And I really see it that they sense like a moth to a flame, that there's something there that they can see us mediums, like we connect on an energetic level, on a frequency, and they come to investigate and connect. Sometimes it's playful, sometimes it's kind of manipulative or mess with you or elicit fear. There is a range of spirits from good to benevolent to evil, and they all have their own agendas. So being a medium, we use our intuition and our senses to find the truth of the being, because we don't need to be interacting with everything. We can set those boundaries, but noting that you don't always get to choose. It sometimes just happens. And what I see as attracting spirits are a vibrational frequency. So the frequency you're vibrating at, where you're sitting energetically, what you're open to. I think this is a key to intuition, to psychic abilities, to mediumship, is your openness and your curiosity to experiences. If you don't want to have them, and this is not something you want to have, you're not typically going to, unless I'd say it's a part of a bigger mission or life purpose, that you might keep having experiences even if you're really not wanting them. But otherwise, for someone like me who kind of just has been very spiritually curious, very open to the bounds of consciousness, of what we can do as humans, as spirits, as energy here, I've always been, I want to understand more. I want to have these really like wild experiences because it helps me. And so I'm very open to it. And so I welcome this type of experience. And thus, I think they come towards me. Other ones, like I've stated before, emotional states are huge. They are creating signals essentially to different types of spirits and to entities. And so just noticing, I mean, every emotional state can elicit a connection, but I'd say especially when you're vulnerable, if you're going through grief, if you're struggling, if you're fearful, if you're out of whack, those states can often pull less benevolent types of beings towards you. Sometimes you will get the really wonderful, good, supportive beings, especially your guides or your ancestors will come and want to support you. But just noticing, like some of my craziest experiences have come when I kind of have forgotten to set my boundaries and I'm kind of like a little out of whack of my usual practices. And then it's just like, bam, something comes through and I get reminded and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Yes, this happens sometimes. Let's reset. Let's check in. Another one are major life events. So again, death, birth, grief, life changes, moves, going to different spaces, lands, travel, all of those types of things can really open. You're in different spaces, you're in different emotions, and that can bring forward different experiences. And then again, I see this as possible spiritual purposes or missions. So things that your spirit came here to work towards, to have, and then these experiences are helping you. And or maybe your mission is to help heal and help people move through grief and give messages from their loved ones, or help people learn about their intuition and their mediumship gifts. And so you're having these experiences so you can share about them from a very grounded, true place. Other ones are cultural beliefs. So your belief systems, like your mind is so powerful. You are creating your existence and your reality through your mind, through your beliefs, through your actions. And so that can really open doors or sway the experiences that you have and your understandings of them. And lastly, boundaries. The lack of them or the setting of them, I'd say more lack of, can really just allow for things to come through. You're not aware, maybe, or you don't have a boundary practice. And so things see you because you have this natural tendency or you're connected to your intuition. And so things start to come forward and want to connect to you, even if you're not wanting it. So a reminder of the different ways you can connect to a spirit through mediumship gifts is really going to be through your senses. So again, this starts with your intuition. This moves into your psychic abilities. And I'd say your intuition can come through these clairs, your clair abilities. So there's clairvoyance, which is your visual images like dreams or waking life. You have a strong indication of being able to see and understand and receive. I'd say that's one of the strongest ways you can be a medium, is having clairvoyance, because it's just really easy to see and connect. Clairaudience is also a very strong way. It's when you start to hear. So you're using this internal hearing system. There are like thoughts or sounds that are coming through in your mind, and that's how you can begin to hear spirits' voices or messages. There's clairsentience, which is the feeling of emotions or physical presence of a spirit or in general, such as cold or sudden warmth. And claircognizance, which is that simply knowing. You don't have to even have any other sense. You just know there's something here. You know it drops into your mind and without having a logical explanation. And so you can receive intuitive downloads through this and connections from the spirit world. So identifying if any of these clairs stand out to you, and then starting to do practices to lean into those clair that really sticks with you, those can really help. And you can build on these and strengthen these clairs through meditation. Regular meditation is going to be your best friend. It will help you just settle down all the energies that aren't you. It helps you tune into other energies and have a clear communications. Setting intentions to protect yourself by setting boundaries with spirits, really only asking for positive, loving spirits that are on the timeline of your highest path and being, and the ancestors and beings who want to work with you through love and understanding and can support you are key. Do not do anything without setting an intention of clearing, of grounding, of protection, of setting boundaries of what you want to experience, how you want to experience them, when you want to experience them. I've said this in another episode, but I have set the boundary of I want to get either a tap on my left hand, like it literally feels like an energetic physical tap, or a knocking in my gut, because that's where I access my intuition. That's how I know there's something there that's wanting to interact. And that's typically how I now get my downloads or insight. Not always, but I'd say for those more bigger aha, my dad's trying to get my attention. Even the Akashic records recently as a being and as an energetic force came through and wanted me to channel and get information from them, which was new. But you can play with this. There's very little limitation around how you can interact. It's just learning those baseline practices to connect and support and feel empowered as you're doing this. And my last tip to strengthen your abilities is to work with a guide. So this could be a human person, a mentor who is doing this work, who can give you tips, who can walk you through practices, and or a spirit guide who can offer support and guidance as you develop this ability. I have found that we all have at least one guide. We usually have multiple, but if you're new in this realm, you can start to connect and ask to connect with your one main guide who's here supporting you, who is here on your path, and beginning to ask them to come forward. And you can use your guide as a space holder and a protector when you're interacting with spirits or you need some support. It gives a bit of distance. How I see it is really kind of this triangle of there's you on one corner, there's your guide on the other, and then there's this spirit that you're connecting to on the tip. And so you're asking and creating this kind of space of container to work through your guide to get information from the spirit. And it protects you. It sets a little bit of a boundary and a separation. So you're not getting this influx of the spirit's energy or influx of information that you might have a hard time understanding what it is that's going on. I have found that to be a really helpful practice. Or if you have an entity that's come in fast and is just really intense, you can call forward this guy to say, hey, please help me with this, hold space for me. Just give them a prayer, ask them to push them away a bit, and then go through that process to get answers or connections or receive the messages or to clear them out of your space. You can definitely do that. If you're having something that's coming in and you're just uncomfortable, you do have the power to request that they leave, to imagine your space being empty and clear and they are not welcome there, and just filling it with love is usually a really great way to cut any BS the spirit is trying to give you, especially ones that are a little bit more on the less benevolent side, to just get them to go and not mess with you. If you're wondering why would anyone want to have these abilities or connect with spirit in this way, I see it as simply an expansion of your consciousness, an expansion of your frequency, an expansion of the understanding that you are not alone. You are super supported. You are part of this higher universe and this bigger universe. And there is this room for creativity and connection and understanding. And it's like we're just uncovering truths and we're uncovering information that we otherwise would not have. And I just feel so alive when I am using my intuition and my gifts in this way to help myself, to help others. There's been so many past loved ones that have been coming through when I'm having conversations with my friends recently, and I get to just say, hey, have you thought of this person? Or hey, there's a message here. Can I share it with you? And it's been just like a really simple and yet profound experience for that person receiving it. And that doesn't happen all the time. Again, I think being October, almost Halloween, this time of year, the veils are thin because we culturally believe they are. I really think that's a part of it. Like collectively, we all agree, like it's spooky season and things are happening. And so that veil becomes a little thinner and these experiences become a little bit more heightened or easy to connect to. But it's a really empowering experience when you start to learn from it. And so if you're curious, if I just would like to start, maybe I just want to see if I could get some type of sign from a spirit. I don't want to fully communicate, but I just want to know something's there with me. And you could even set the intention of it being a very specific past loved one or animal or from your guide. So some of the ways that spirit likes to communicate, which you could then look out for, are through flickering lights or electronics acting strangely. There's also emotion or physical senses changing rather suddenly. You again feel that feeling or significant emotion you can't shake. And then a few really fun ones too are finding feathers or coins or other symbolic objects that will make you think about a spirit or a past loved one. For me, an example of this was a couple years ago. For almost an entire year period, whenever I would go to this one specific park, which was a bit of a secluded kind of corner of town park, not many knew about it, every time I would find at least 1 to 3 pennies. laid out on the ground at this park. Only I would find them. And obviously, like, someone must have been dropping pennies or placing pennies, but I always would find it when I was there. And this happened to be the year that my mediumship gifts really started coming online, but they were new. So I was like, what is going on? It happened to be my grandfather, that it was him. He was nudging me like, hey, I'm here. Trust this. Connect with me. This can be fun. It feels good. And then once I really started working with him and things started to come to its end with my connection with him, not because I didn't want to connect, but just you'll notice as you work through your life, things come and go and quiet and pick up. It's like seasons with mediumship, that he kind of left me and then those pennies stopped. So that was a really cool experience for me and very physical. Like, my kids still talk about it. And that park we named Penny Park. That's how we refer to it in my family. And so it's fun to go and remember that experience and time. Another way that you can communicate, that spirits try to communicate with you, are they'll send songs or melodies or little sayings. So maybe someone would say something all the time and then you start hearing that, or a song, and it just reminds you of that person. So noticing that when those are coming on the radio, or if you're shuffling, a practice I really love to do is I will have my music on shuffle and I'll say, Spirit, please send me a message or let me know what I need to know right now. How many songs from now should I tune into and know it's from you? And they'll usually say 2 or 4. And so once that song comes on, I know to take note. And the last one is noticing them in your dreams or your waking life. And my dad, who's passed, has come into my dreams, especially the few months after he passed. It was like he was just coming to check in and be like, I'm here, I'm okay, I miss you, I love you. And it was always so emotional, and yet the most simple, randomest dreams of just us sitting there watching TV together. So noticing your dreams. So if you take nothing else away from this episode, I really want you to remember that, firstly, mediumship is not scary. I promise you, it really isn't. It's not just about the ghostly encounters like you see in movies. It is a deeply spiritually rooted practice, rooted in empathy and connection. And it can be a lot of fun and supportive. Also, not everyone is ready. So while you might be really interested in this, you might have hesitancy or feel like that was really cool to learn, but I don't ever want to do that. So note that while many have the potential, mediumship is a gift that develops over time, and it's not for everyone. So it's okay to either not feel ready to embrace it fully or at all, and just learn more about your intuition and what you want to connect to, because you get to set those boundaries and intentions of how you want to connect to yourself, to your guides, or anyone else, or if not at all. And thirdly, this is a skill you can develop. It can be strengthened in a safe and supportive way. So if you're curious, I'd say just begin. Begin to work with your intuition. Begin to reach out. Maybe you're starting with an animal and you want to connect to their spirit, or maybe a loved one has passed and you're just wanting to see a sign from them. Start somewhere you can feel protected and like it's not too big of a jump, and just have fun. It is really something that can be done safely with a lot of support. And I promise you'll start to get connections, signs, insights. And if you do, I would love to hear about them. So I will leave you here. I hope you have a wonderful spooky season and that you enjoy the possibilities that are out there through mediumship. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.